My name is Richard Susskind, and I've written a book called How to Think About AI, a Guide for the Perplexed. I've been troubled by a lot of books and articles that have been written about AI that seem to me to be too technologically complex. So the challenge I set myself was to look at this very complex and important field and try to give a general introduction to the general reader about this set of systems, this set of ideas that are fundamentally changing the way we live and work. Well, it wasn't really a pivot. In the 1980s, from 83 to 86, I wrote my PhD here in Oxford on artificial intelligence and law. And I became interested in the field a couple of years previously as a legal undergraduate in Glasgow University in Scotland, where I was trying to think through the question, can computers replace judges? And all roads in my research then led to this unknown field of AI. I thought I'd like to do some research in that, and so I devoted much of the 80s to research and writing and then developing AI systems in law. And since then, I've spent half my career in technology and half in law. I'm half a lawyer and half a technologist. So AI has been a lifelong preoccupation. This is now 44 years of work in the field. I'm trying to reach the general reader for the first time. Historically, my books have either been for lawyers or for professionals. But I think there's a thirst, this is at least my hope, there's a thirst for understanding more broadly across society and communities about what AI is all about. What does it mean for our children? What does it mean for our health service? What does it mean for our businesses? Most people have some sense now that there's this remarkable phenomenon, AI, bubbling up, and they want to get their heads around it. They want to understand its potential, its limitations, its benefits, its drawbacks. So really I'm writing for anyone who reads, people who are curious about technology and curious about the future of mankind. There were two things I enjoyed doing. One was what is now chapter 10, which was looking at the issue of conscious machines and whether or not AI systems could ever actually experience the world as we do as human beings, and what the philosophical and ethical and legal implications of that might be. The other bit that I enjoyed writing, and in fact was the first bit I wrote, was what is now chapter 3, which is the distinction between outcome thinking and process thinking. As I spoke to people involved with AI and interviewed researchers and worked with people in the field of AI, I find there's two entirely different views. One is those who I call process thinkers, who are preoccupied with how the machines work, with the underpinning technology, and also with how the human brain works and how these phenomena might relate to one another. So they're very much concerned with the innards of the machine and the brain. The process thinkers, therefore, are quite engineering focused, whereas the outcome thinkers are only interested in what these systems can and will do. They're interested in their social impact, their commercial impact, their legal impact, and of course their ethical impact. But what is happening in the world of AI is that we have two different cultures. Outcome thinkers and process thinkers often talking past one another. Some interested in what the systems do, others interested in how they do it. And I wanted to say and explain in the book that this gives rise to all sorts of confusions and actually limits our understanding of what AI will actually be about in years to come. A few messages. One is not to be too dogmatic about the future of AI. We hear people making very firm predictions. Well, one of my observations is that the AI community does not speak with a single voice, and there are many different hypotheses, I identify 6, about where AI might take us. So I want to warn people against those evangelists or skeptics who are too dogmatic about how AI might unfold. Second, and the biggest issue of all, is I would like people to think about artificial general intelligence and ask the question, what if AGI? So artificial and general intelligence is this idea that our machines will not just be capable, but they will be able to take on almost all, if not all, the cognitive tasks that humans can take on. They become as capable, as bright, as clever as us, in effect. Now, many people think this is science fiction, but most of us working in the field of AI are seeing developments which suggest AGI is at least possible, if not likely, in the 30s. And so I encourage everyone to ask, what does that mean for the business I work in, or for the industry or market in which I operate? What does it mean for, again, for our children? And what does it mean for government, for defense, for all aspects of our lives? I'm not saying, categorically not saying we will have AGI, but its advent to Earth would be such a remarkable phenomenon that we should at least be planning for the phenomenon. I often say to people, because I'm asked a lot, why should I write a book? I feel I'm excited about writing a book. And there are many reasons. You might want to write a book to be rich, or to be famous, or to contribute knowledge, or simply because you enjoy writing. But I would say be very clear why you're embarking on the process at the outset. Because you can disappoint yourself. You may read a book that's of immense influence that doesn't actually sell many copies. Or you may read a book that sells many copies and people will regard as lightweight. You have to decide at the outset what it is you hope and want from the work that you're writing.